Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with grilled fava beans. That's right, I'm going to show you my all-time favorite way for cooking and eating fava beans. And if by some chance you have not experienced these magical beans yet, I think this is the perfect recipe to start with since it's easy, interactive, and most importantly, addictively delicious. Not to mention when you serve these, you'll be able to make creepy Silence of the Lamb references. So yes, get your Chianti and sucking sound effects ready. But before we get to all that, let's do a quick review of the fava, which basically looks like a giant oversized green bean. So let me grab the ugliest one and tear it open so you can see what's going on. And I should mention those black marks you see are very common, and other than the appearance don't cause any issues. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open up this pod to reveal the beans inside. And if cooked long enough, this entire thing is edible. But normally in restaurants, we only use the bean, and not even the whole bean, just the inside of the bean. Oh, and speaking of the inside, that white lining is so incredibly soft, I highly recommend you take a moment and rub it with your finger. I know that sounds funny, but trust me, you're going to want to do that. But anyway, like I was saying, how we normally use these in a restaurant, we'll take these beans and boil them for a few minutes, which I'm going to simulate here by popping that bean in the microwave for about 25 seconds. And after removing the beans from the pod and cooking them for a minute or two, we will usually squeeze out that beautiful green bean inside. And that's what we'll use for our spreads or salads or pizzas or whatever. So that is your typical restaurant method for handling fava beans, which as you're about to see is definitely not how we're doing it today. This time, since we're grilling over charcoal, we're going to use the whole pod. And the first step here is a very simple marinade that will start with the juice of 1 lemon. And yes, of course, freshly squeezed. Just because I didn't show you the lemon does not mean you get to use that concentrate stuff. So we'll go ahead and squeeze over a lemon, followed by a nice drizzle of olive oil. And then we'll also want to toss in a few large pinches of kosher salt. And then last but not least here, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. But we're not going to chop or mince it up. All right, we're just going to peel that and sort of crush it a little bit with the flat of a knife. And what that's going to do is infuse a little bit of garlic flavor into the oil, without the risk of small pieces of garlic charring on the grill maybe causing an off flavor. And then all we need to do is take our tongs and give this a mix until everything is thoroughly coated, at which point we could pop that in the fridge till we're ready to use it. Or in my case, just leave it out while you prep your grill. And I didn't show it, but it's probably not a bad idea to give that stuff a toss once in a while you're waiting for your grill to get hot. So that's what I did. And about 30 minutes later, my coals were ready. So we will head outside and place these down. And assuming you have a nice hot fire like I do, these things are going to take about 5 minutes per side. Although that terminology is a little misleading because it's not like I just set them down and wait for 5 minutes and then turn them. After about 3 or 4 minutes, I just start tossing them around, moving them here, moving them there, turning them when I see fit. And what we're looking for is these pods to soften up and get all charred and blistered. And you're probably getting very close when you see water bubbling out of the pod. But all these are just visual clues. And of course, we never just want to go by appearance. So above and beyond what I just said, we want to cook these until the bean inside is tender. So if you're not sure, give them a test. And don't be surprised when they get close to being done and a few of the pods don't burst open. Totally normal, nothing to be afraid of. Just be careful and don't lose any beans through the grate. That would be a tragic and completely avoidable loss. But anyway, I went ahead and grilled what ended up being about 1.5 pounds of favas. At which point I headed back inside to begin final production. But first let me double check I cooked these long enough. And how we know is if we pop one of those beans out of the pod and we can eat it and it's nice and soft and tender, we did it right. And of course you're checking those on the grill and not once you come inside. But I think that's pretty obvious. And then what we'll do once our favas have been grilled successfully is transfer them into whatever serving platter we're going to use and finish dressing them for service. Okay, the first marinade was mostly so these would look nice as they grilled, and also of course to impart a little bit of flavor. But because the thing we're eating is inside that pod, we're going to want to add a lot more of everything, plus some additional ingredients possibly. Okay, so while they're still hot, we'll hit those with some more olive oil. We will also do some more freshly squeezed lemon juice, as well as more salt. I know it looks like a ton, but we need that much, and you're going to see why in a second. So we'll definitely want to do a generous sprinkling of salt. And then I decided to also do a little bit of red pepper flake. I was out of cayenne. Just kidding. I have a 50-pound tub in my garage. And then last but not least, if you want, some bean-friendly herb is very nice. Maybe something like rosemary or Italian parsley. Or what I'm using here, a chiffonade of fresh mint, which is just a fancy culinary term for thinly sliced. And that's it, our grilled fava beans are now ready to eat. And by eat, I mean suck. See, what you don't want to do is just grab them with your fingers and eat them like this. because you're only going to get a little bit of flavor attached to them. All right, what you really want to do is grab the whole pod and suck the beans right out. That way, as you're extracting the bean, you're getting all those amazing flavors from the outside of the pod into your mouth. And I would have shown you that, but I don't get paid nearly enough to show close-ups of my face. But anyway, that would be the most rustic and interactive way to eat these. And obviously absolutely perfect for your backyard cookout setting. But what if we want something a little fancier? Well then, may I present Favas on the half shell. Okay, those beans are going to be attached to one side of the pod, so just peel the other side off and present them as shown. Maybe with a little bit of peppered lemon and some more salt, which I think makes for a very creative and interesting presentation. But anyway, I showed you how to grill them. You have to figure out how to serve them. You guys are, after all, the Flava Flavs of getting Fava raves. Which reminds me, if you've got game, what you're going to want to do with the leftover cold beans is mash those up with some garlic and olive oil and lemon and herbs and pepper and all the usual suspects. And serve that on some grilled bread with maybe some shaved Parmesan. And that, my friends, is not a recipe. That is just a way to eat something. But anyway, that's it. My method for grilling fava beans. Which, by the way, I think is everybody's method for grilling fava beans. But regardless, whether you're already a fan of the fava, or this is going to be your first time, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.